Good evening. We are live.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very special one for you today. First, this week's subject, an incredible man beyond the field, but a legend on the field. You know him as the spin doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chuck Foreman. Chuck, how are
Woo!
you?
Hey, thank you, gentlemen, for having me. It's I've been looking forward to it. Thanks
And
again.
in this corner, ladies and gentlemen, the artist, the artist who gives us all life and excitement every week. This man right here dives into that creative pool inside his head and gives us a gem. And this week, the collectible comic cover features none other than the spin doctor, Mr. Chuck Foreman. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Jacob Horine.
All right,
Thank
Daniel.
you. Thank you, Charlie.
All
Thank you.
right.
So Daniel, can you put up this week's beautiful comic cover?
You bet.
Folks, this one is only available until this Sunday, featuring the Spin Doctor. Oh my God. So, Chuck, what was
Uh-huh.
your first thoughts when you saw this bad boy?
I thought it was exceptional. When Ben sent it over to me, I was like, when he sent me three different versions, I suppose, or prints, and I saw, that was my favorite. That was my favorite one.
That is a beautiful thing right now. And that thing's got the dogs barking, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
I'm sorry,
So,
but that's my wife's dog. I just showed him to you, but that's Benji.
how
And
could
so
Benji not go nuts when you see something like that? So,
yeah.
so Daniel, take us through the process and what went into putting and bringing the Spin Doctor to life.
Sure. Well, with some athletes have nicknames, and some athletes have nicknames that are ready for this kind of treatment. And the spin doctor is just one of those names. And I just thought what it meant to be, the spin doctor. Carving your swath down the field of spinning and maneuvering around your opponents, and so I was thinking about characters of what this could be like, and then there's a comic book character called Red Tornado. So he was the inspiration behind this, and I kind of imagine him similar to Red Tornado, but in a purple swirl tearing down the field.
Chuck, when you started, and I'm talking from playing little league ball all the
Right.
way up to your Pro Bowl career,
Hmm.
uh, was that evasiveness just something that always came with you?
No,
Like,
you guys got to remember. Let me give you a little bit of history.
yeah,
Number one, when I was in what we used to call midget football, when a little guy, I was always on the line.
no kidding.
Yeah. And then one day, I played with this team called the Frederick Giants, and then one day this guy put me at fullback or something. And I ran touchdowns, but then they put me right back there. When I was in high school, I was a defensive tackle tight end. When I was recruited at Miami, I was recruited as a defensive tackle tight end. And then when we had 40 times as a freshman, and I was the state champion in the hurdles in Maryland. Um, and so I just found out who the fastest guy was and jumped on him at 40 for the 40-yard dash. Now, I didn't beat him by a lot, but I beat him. And then after that, our coach, Bester Newcomb, says, "Hey, well, you ever play running back?" I said, "Nope." And
Wow.
so that's how it started. And I was a freshman. I had all the records down as a freshman. Sophomore, they moved me to corner. And then my junior year, of course, I played running back, wide receiver. And so I never concentrated on, well, one year I had I was concentrating on one position, but at the University of Miami is where I developed. I mean, I had all the skills coming out of high school, but there, my defensive back coach, his name was Jimmy Dye. He wasn't that big, but boy, he was a tough guy. And then my wide receivers coach was a guy named Larry Beckish. And then my running back coach was a guy by the name of Whitey Campbell. And all those guys together kind of molded me into who I became as a pro.
They had your head spinning with all the positions they were trying to have you
Well,
learn.
it wasn't all that bad though. I tell you what, well, like when they moved me from one position to the next, I remember because all the coaches I had in high school and everything, they were, like my track coach his name was Jack Griffin. He was the U.S. Women's Olympic head coach and also an assistant for a couple of Olympics. But
For
every coach
track?
I had track. And so all, like for instance, when we would get ready to run, we were going to the state championships, coach come to me, Coach Griffin came to me and says, he's faster than you, don't you? I said, yeah, I don't know. He said, yeah, he's faster than you, but you know what? I said, what? He said, you're going to beat him though. And I said, well, how's that? He says, your form's going to beat him. So he kept me out there extra every day, making sure when I skimmed that hurdle, my butt came across that hurdle, I could feel the hurdle coming across my butt when I came across. That's how low I was on. That's what you want, and I won. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is everything that I became as a professional. Those gentlemen always told us there's nothing you can't do if you put the time in and the work in, and that's what I did.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. And Daniel, I want to take that winner's mindset,
Sure.
and I want to kind of put that onto your artwork, because every week this challenge faces you with how am I going to one up, how am I going to keep the fans excited, and how am I going to deliver a new piece of pop culture? And you do it flawlessly. So when this one came across your table, what was the approach, and how did you dive in and get this thing to pop and come to life like this?
I just reached into the magic bag, Charlie.
Magic
and
hat?
sprinkled
Like,
it right on.
There you go. I guess everybody has a magic bag.
No, I think what I love about baseball is the same thing that I love about football is that there's the game, but then there's characters behind the game, and I feel like the characters behind the game, the story arcs, the heroes, the villains are all much bigger than the game itself. And so the Spin Doctor too, just the way you approach the game, your mindset, the nickname that you have, it's all ready for this hyperbolic storytelling. And so, like I said, the nickname is just like I don't know why it wasn't the first one I did, because it's one of the most visually descriptive words, and so it was. As soon as I started the football project, I was able to get in contact with Chuck and couldn't wait to get to this one. This one's been on the calendar for a while, and we've been excited for it.
Chuck, talk about a golden DJ name too. If you were playing 2022, you got to figure you might have been DJing at some of these Minnesota clubs after these games. The Spin Doctor, baby.
Oh, well, I guess I could be doing a lot of different things, but in 2022, the heck with that, I'd be a multi-millionaire, bro.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I'd be $100 million man minimum.
No kidding. Do you think, talking about money like that, right? Because now with college kids getting paid, things like that, what does that do to a young man? And what kind of challenges do you think that would have presented to you? It would have been a little different in your career if we're talking those kind of figures.
Okay, how can I put this? Okay, guys are getting paid. Okay?
Right.
That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying, I'm just saying the big time schools in that particular conference were getting paid.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. Or getting assistance of some kind of extra assistance, let's put it like that. But today's game and, the name, image, and likeness thing, I think it's a good thing. But I think they got to be very, very careful with how that's going to play. How's that going to play in the family when they got an 18-year-old kid signing to go to a school and they're going to say, we're going to give you $1 million deal.
Right.
And then he's going to think that he's running the family.
Right.
Or, in fact, the family may take advantage of the situation. That happens too. And then you got to think about, okay, are they going to have the right advice when they get this money and what to do with it? Because, they're going to have tax responsibilities, all the extracurricular things that come with money, and whether it be everything, you know what I'm talking
Everything
about.
that comes with it, absolutely.
You know what I mean? All those things are going to enter into the picture, and so that's going to be the issue with these guys getting paid now.
And ladies and gentlemen, you better believe TMZ will be bringing you everything that doesn't go right. It's a tough
Oh,
world to
no, no
operate
doubt
in.
about
Sure.
it. But it's gonna be a road trip in the beginning. Let's just get ready for it because it's gonna be one of those things. Whereas there's going to be mistakes made. There's going to have to be some adjustments to how that is distributed. And for me, I think a kid should have access to some of the money, and the rest of it should be put in an account for when he comes out of school. And I
Absolutely.
think what'll happen then is that I got to stay in the school longer instead of jumping to the pros. And then they'll be even more ready to play at the pro level because most of these guys definitely are not ready to play when they get there. Every now and then you get one, but not all of them. So it's going to be a whole new can of worms they're opening up, and we're going to have to wait and see how that works out and what these schools are going to do to give these kids first of all, they're going to have to make sure the right people are involved in their life
Right.
as far as, who's going to be there to handle their money and help them make good decisions because now we're about to get into something that's just totally, totally, it's
A whole new world.
a whole new world, unknown territory.
It really is. And ladies and gentlemen, talking unknown territory, I want you to know what comes when you make your Pop Fly cover purchase. So you're going to get something just like this, what I have in my hand. And Vikings fans, don't get mad at me now, Vikings fans. You could submit your question right now, right? Don't get mad at me if you missed out on this cover I'm going to show you. But right now you can pick up the Spin Doctor. This was your third. This was number 2.
Yep, number 2.
Number 2 from the Pop Fly football collection was the beautiful Purple People Eaters. This is what you will receive.
Right.
Signed by Daniel. I saw you did it, you dirty dog, you in the purple ink. I like that. In the purple, numbered, certified, authentic. You can grab yours now, but it's only available. The Spin Doctor's only available until this Sunday, guys. So you can grab it at popflypopshop.com right now. Daniel, do you get hate mail every week from people who say, yo, I missed out on something. Come on, please sell me one of them.
Every week, every single week. I am in the part-time job of disappointing people. That is what that is what I do. I make people happy and angry every Sunday.
Oh.
That sounds a lot like a football player, huh, Chuck?
Well, that's true, but excellent work. That it comes along with the good, the bad.
Sure does.
Can't be perfect.
Yeah, and I have to mention too, when I was a kid, huge Miami Hurricanes fan. I love Gino Torretta. He was my favorite as a kid. So the background colors here, green and orange. We've got those Miami colors there to pay homage
Right.
to your alma mater there, Chuck.
It sounds good. It looks good. It looks great. No doubt about it.
It's
So
just-
hopefully some of those Miami fans will get on that and make a purchase for sure.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. I was wondering if you were tapping into those Miami colors with that background. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was actually different colors when I started. It was Chuck's idea. It was like maybe we get those in Miami colors, and that was exactly what it needed. So that was Chuck.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a little green there because up here you got to watch that green because of the Green Bay Packers. But
Right.
you got to remember the Hurricanes. We got a little green in our uniform too. So it all works out.
So, Chuck, was your head spinning going from one of the warmest climates to one of the coldest? Well, how was that to adjust?
It was a big adjustment. Coming from Miami. Of course, I'm from Maryland originally,
Right.
so we did have cold weather. But going from there to Miami, from Miami to Minnesota, when that first hard winter came in and that playing in that snow, and I remember going to the stadium the first time when it was below 0, and Bud Grant kept me out longer than most guys. And he was catching the ball with me. I was teed off. I wanted to get into the room. But, you had to get acclimated to it because, they didn't have the gloves. They didn't have all that stuff back then. They had this stuff called stick-'em. And the quarterbacks hated when you had it on your fingers because to make the ball stick and they couldn't release the ball that well. And then in the winter, it would freeze up on your fingertips. That was one of the negatives. So you ended up having to go with your bare hand and just, and then they came up with these little warmers where you could snap them and put them in right around your belt buckle thing, and that worked a little bit. But let me tell you, when that first winter came, with that first, especially the playoffs, and that 25, 30 below zero was out there, oh man, that was crazy.
So take us through the proper way to get frozen stickum off of your hands.
Well, there's no proper way. You go inside, you start getting the thing and scraping it off. That's how hard it was. But I know I use it then when when it was warm, I put it on. But when it got cold, I learned quick not to use that stuff. But now they got gloves, and the gloves are 6. You ever see the gloves those guys have? Well, the
Incredible.
gloves got so much, not stick them, but they're made with whatever material is made of. Heck, you can grab the ball like this, anything, and you can hold on to it.
Yeah, I think
So
Nike is taking frog tongue and making gloves out of frog tongue, ladies and gentlemen. That's the only way to describe those gloves.
there you go. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it because some of these guys make some of these catches with those gloves. I'm like, okay, I get it.
So, Chuck, do you think your early experience on the line translated to how good you saw holes?
I don't know. Now, that's all vision. That's all instinct. I mean, I tell you what, if you got great peripheral vision, you'll be a great running back. If you got the speed and all the other things go, because if you can see space, open space, and you can get to it, that's a great thing to have.
Do you when you're driving on a highway, open highway, do
Mm-hmm.
you ever think about it like that? Because like sometimes you see these holes open up between the cars, things like that. So you never see it like that.
I don't do that. You know what I mean? I'm more of a laid back. When I was younger, now I know. I remember one time, me and a friend of mine drove from Miami to Maryland in like 14 hours. Well, I mean, it was crazy. It was stupid to do. But we were getting there. We were going there, and I'm like, wow. That's like almost 1,200 miles.
Wow.
That's how much we were rolling. I mean, the police pulled us over. I was coming through a place called Waycross, Georgia.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's a friend. Luckily, he was a nice guy, but we were going through there like 110, something like that. And he pulled us over because he said, "Because we've been talking about you for the last 40 miles." I'm like, what the heck? We couldn't catch it. And then they called the way ahead, and that's when they had people waiting on us.
Oh my God. They were going from stone crabs to crab cakes in a
Yeah,
hurry, folks.
and then we were like, uh-oh, we definitely in trouble. We're going to jail. Then they when they pulled us over, they just started walking around the car and everything. It was a
They were
Porsche,
impressed more than
a turbo Carrera.
Oh great.
A turbo, so like, and it was the top of the line. And I'm like, he's walking around the car and he's saying, "Wow, we've never stopped one like this before." Now I'm going to tell you this. We says what? He said, "What? Well, no. Now you get ready to cross over here to South Carolina. They waiting on you over there,
Oh.
So we kind of cruised on through South Carolina. And turned it up again when we were in North Carolina. And then we blew through Virginia and came home. It was fun.
So, Chuck, based on all the personalities, you played with some big personalities, man, on the same team and against. Who would you love to see get the pop fly treatment with a cover by Daniel Jacob Horine?
Who would I like to see get one?
Yeah.
And it could be a villain too, what you want to see as a villain.
Individual?
An individual. Yeah,
Well,
could be a hero or a villain.
You got the purple people eater one there. That's an individual. I mean, that's not an individual.
Right.
That's just like
That's
the
true.
group. Yeah, I can see it now. I see the guys, but I might say you don't have Ahmad Rashad there.
Oh. Do you
Or-
bring the game show? How about him with the game shows? Do you bring the game show aspect into
Well,
it?
I don't know
You
how
play
you would do
football? Just
it.
kidding.
Yeah, he played. Yeah, I could go down John Gillen, Sammy White, all those guys. You got a number of great players that were with the Vikings there.
Okay. So,
Well,
Dan, go ahead.
Actually, speaking of, it doesn't have their name here, but someone asked the question, kind of a segue. They asked, "Who was the meanest, dirtiest defender you ever dealt with, and who was the meanest team?" There's 2 and 1 there.
Okay, I don't know if you would call them mean, but I think the Chicago Bears were always kind of testy. That's because they were never any good. They had in Soldier Field, they used to have these dugouts. That's where everybody sat, the guys. So, they had guys over there, but some of the defensive players, they try to hit you out of bounds and throw you in that, that little dugout there. I went in there once or twice. Yeah, but then you learn to stay away. This one, don't want to go over there. So. And then let me see, the guy by the name of Fred Carr might be the toughest guy I've ever played against. Wally Chambers, one of my dear friends, he's the only one that ever caught me right in the middle of the spin move, and that hurt a little bit, but I didn't let him know. I got up when I looked up and I said, wow, I was kind of shocked, and I was like, I looked up and it was him standing over me smiling. And I'm like, but I knew, but it was him. But we used to work out a lot in Miami. He come and stay with me and stuff like that. But, he knew a little bit about stuff that as far as working out, and how I did this, going to practice and all that stuff. He stood over me just like laughing. He had this real deep voice, like Barry White. He was like, it was like that.
Caught in the spin move. Is it cool for you to see how big the spin move has become and like how much a part of running back?
Well, I'm not surprised, but let me tell you what I'm saying though. The spin move is great, but they ain't giving me no credit for starting it. Yeah, that's the thing. I keep hearing about, he did the spin. Man, wait a minute, I was doing that years ago. That's my thing. And they don't even know where it came from. It didn't even come from football. It came from basketball. Earl of Pearl Mine Road. That's where I learned it from. Earl Pearl played for the Baltimore Bullets at the time. It was the Baltimore Bullets, not the Baltimore Washington Wizards. And he come up there, man, and he went to Winston-Salem State. And he was a legend anyway in the HBC, the historically black colleges. Yeah. Earl Pearl he's a legend, man.
That's a bad boy.
Yeah, he was all that, and he was from Philadelphia, I think. And he brought that ball up the court, and nobody could stop Earl Pearl. He was for the leg. He was sweet, man. He was all that. So that's where I got the spin move, because all of us tried to do Earl Pearl stuff when we were playing basketball.
Oh, so you were doing the spin move on the basketball court?
On the basketball court, trying, not as good as him, but trying. Wow. And that was a big thing in the community. Everybody was coming down the court, in the park and stuff. Everybody trying to be like Earl the Pearl. But there's only one. But then I got pretty good at it. And then one game, I think we were playing the Houston Oilers, and I saw space over there, and I'm like, man, I'm thinking I'm gonna get over there. And then I said, okay, here I go. And so I came and did this little dip and came back underneath and spun out of the guy's hand. That was all she wrote. Wow. But you got to be real careful. For me, I was always spinning to get to a space, not so much getting away from the person.
Interesting.
Because you got to be real careful when you're doing that thing, because if they catch it, it could, they could, get a great hit on you. So, but yeah, so I see these guys doing. I think I saw Lamar Jackson do it last year. And they're like, hey, he did the spin move. I'm like, please, man, that's not Lamar Jackson's move. You know what I did? I sent him a T-shirt, a spin doctor T-shirt, and then I said, and I signed it. Hey, great move, but this is the original spin doctor, and I signed it for him. He probably threw it away, but I'm saying, or he might not even got it. But I sent him one.
That is cool. That's sports history right there.
I let him know. I said, hey, I'm from Frederick, Maryland. You in Frederick? You in my, you playing for the, my home state team, and I just want you to know I'm the original.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, I did that.
Oh, Daniel, pop that thing up right there. Let's see a piece of sports history. From
Awesome.
Earl
There
the
you
Pearl
go.
to the Spin Doctor right there,
Earl the
ladies
Pearl
and
Monroe.
gentlemen.
I mean, you go back in my time, you say the name Earl the Pearl Monroe when you played basketball. That's what that's what everybody try to do. Now your coaches wouldn't like you doing it, but that's what I did.
I'll be back 25 more times. You gotta love that. You
Yeah,
gotta love a guy who does not mind being fed all day and will eat all day.
Right. Yeah, it's like, you said that thing where I'll be back 25 more times. That was reserved for guys that always talk trash. And then when I'd say that phrase, when I'd say that to them, they would you should see their eyes were like, oh man, I might have messed up.
it's always the
Because
quiet ones.
yeah, I said, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, well, you did mess up because I'm coming back. You know,
How did that go, Daniel? How did the quote selection go?
That was again all Chuck. I sent him a thing with an empty speech bubble. I said, what should we put in there? Any quote or inspiration? And then he's came back with it's kind of a quiet assassin on the field.
mhm.
Except for sometimes when I got a bit of trash talk, here's what I said. So I love that little piece of information that you would only kind of really know if you're on the field. And so I love collaboration in this way. So Chuck's insight in the quote, the colors in the background, Chuck's fingerprints are all over this.
That is
Yeah.
so cool. That is so cool. Let's see it one last time here. And ladies and gentlemen, you could grab this piece of sports history right now at popflypopshop.com with the NFL covers once every other week. Daniel puts his touches. Here are those Bears that we spoke so hating of. The Purple People Eaters. These are retired forever. And the Spin Doctor is going to be retired after this Sunday. So if you want to get your hands on one, head over to popflypopshop.com right now and make sure you secure your piece of history. Fellas, Daniel, another out of this world job. And Chuck, the
Thank you.
Spin Doctor, still writing prescriptions out here.
That's a good way to put it. But yeah, thank you very much, Daniel, for all that and meeting with you guys today, and Charlie, you too. And
Absolutely.
it's been a good visit.
Incredible, incredible work, Daniel. Send us home, D. And guys, thank you again for visiting your favorite comic pop shop, popflypopshop.com.
There you go. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone. See
All
ya.
right. See
You
you
guys.
guys.